Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Daily Marvel Snap video. So today we have a deck that seems very mid. And admittedly, I've tried this a few times, it didn't do incredibly well, but with where the meta state is at right now, I feel like this has snuck in a lot of value that wasn't there otherwise. So with how common Leech is, we have two good cards in this deck that we will typically have only a few resources in our hand at that time that Leech comes down. We have Red Skull and Infinaut. If we get leeched, we no longer have to rely on Dracula to pull into one of those. We can just play those resources onto the board and we're pushing 35 power on turns 5 and 6. If they don't leech us, we can spread wide. We have our Sunspot, Iceman, Zero. We have some big resources like our Maximus that can either be zeroed out or played behind the Cosmo lane. And my personal favorite is that we can try to push to win initiative early. And if we can do that, we can try to preemptively drop our Cosmo in a lane that blocks their Lockjaw rotation, that blocks a Shuri coming down. And a lot of times you can find ways to win through a couple of those plays. And so this can hold its own decently against both Thanos and Shuri. I've had really good success with this deck, and it's surprisingly pretty fun to play and be able to shift your play depending on what you're facing. I definitely think that this one is a little bit of a sleeper pick. It has a lot of relatively low power cards, but being able to spread your power out wide, we have seen time and time again, if a deck can do that effectively, then it becomes much harder for your opponent to play their resources efficiently and find ways to win. And if you want to see more of this deck or any other decks live, make sure to be following us on twitch.tv/TLSGsnap. We're going live almost every single weekday whenever we can. And so with the brief deck explanation out of the way, let's go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have Never Sober. And yesterday we saw a brief break in the Thanos. And it looks like today we are back in Thanos land, unfortunately. It was a nice break from reality, but we are back again. Let's see if we can maybe find a way to win. Now, this deck a lot of times doesn't feel like it's going to do enough. Like the one-cost cards, the Dracula, the Red Skull, Infinaut. But what the deck does do very well is that if it gets hit with Leech, you have some pretty good plays to be able to drop after that fact. We know that they're a Thanos deck, so we want to have initiative going into maybe turn 3, turn 4, because if we can strategically drop a Cosmo, then they're not going to be able to leech. They're not going to be able to cycle with their cards. They're going to have a lot harder time doing the things that they want to do. Now, this is actually a tough set of locations, unless they have Reality Stone, which if they have Reality Stone, they'd probably play it over here or here. But if their aim is to rotate cards, I'm going to drop our Cosmo to the left. That's where I think if I was them, I would change. Ooh, no, so they just skip and soak with their Sunspot. Interesting, kind of scary, but interesting. We're going to destroy our own Cosmo here. Ooh, they saw the Cosmo. They probably had a clunky hand. That's similar to the Thanos game that we showed in the intro. We'll take the win. We'll take the win against Thanos where we can. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Before. I always do this before we forget. We are almost at 30,000 subs. We're about 200 away. So if you're watching this video and you do enjoy the content, but you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. It helps the channel grow, and it helps us get to that next major milestone that we are right next to. And so we're going to copy our Sunspot. We're going to follow their lead. We're going to copy our Sunspot. We already have our Iceman. Hopefully they have Shuri. Hopefully we hit their Shuri. If this is a Shuri deck, dropping Shuri on 5 is abysmal compared to being able to do it on 4. So it pretty much wrecks that curve. It's not great. We get a free Dracula out of it, which is pretty decent, but our Maximus is now terrible. Our armor's not great, and we don't have anything better, so let's just play our Sunspot here. Wait, depending on what else we draw into, we could have a couple of Draculas. And then if we run out of things for it to absorb, it's at worst, it's 4 power. No, with their Sunspots, we're going to copy one additional Sunspot here. I want to try to outpace them with our Sunspot plays. They have the armor, which they did end up using its 4 power. How's it 4 power? Oh my gosh, I gave them a buff. with the Iceman. It had to have been hit with Iceman so that both of our Icemen hit this card. It originally is a 2/3. It got inverted, so it was a 4/3. Maybe? I don't know. They have a 4-power armor for whatever reason that still costs only 2. Fine, whatever. We don't even care. We're gonna play our Sunspot. We're gonna soak. That's gonna be our best bet in most cases. For every energy. Oh, and they did have. Even had the Wait, how is it 4/4? I'm so confused at these card buffs. I don't know what happened. I can't explain it because if we hit it before it was inverted with peak, that would have been 5 or 6. So it would have been 2, 6, 2, whatever. So the 4 cost implies that we hit it after it got hit with peak on both regards. But peak was revealed last. We didn't Iceman after that point. So I can't explain what happened here. Somebody that's smarter than me, can you help me out? I don't know why these are the way that they are. We're gonna play our Sunspot. I don't know. It's not great. It's not terrible. It just is what it is. So we do have our Infinaut. I'm gonna play the free Dracula, and then we're gonna soak. We're gonna hope that we can outpower whatever massive behemoth that they come down with here. It is the 30 power Red Skull. Well, I mean, with how much we're soaking, we have a shot here. Strangely enough, I think we Ant-Man, we Dracula. Do we still soak and just let Dracula pull into what Dracula? Yeah, we're gonna soak here. We're gonna skip. we're gonna let Dracula pull into what Dracula does, and we're gonna take the 15 power across the board with our Sunspot. If they want to do a Taskmaster, fine. That is fine. They can do that. They can have the right lane. We don't need it. We're gonna take the mid, and we're gonna soak in the left lane with 10 extra power. We're gonna pump up over that. We pull the 0. It's not gonna quite do it for them. I mean, what a strange game, but we'll take it. Anytime a Khazar Zoo can beat Shuri, I'm gonna chalk that up to being a good day. So there's a couple of ways that this deck matches into the Shuri playline. The Cosmo, if we can grab initiative early, that's great. Iceman, if it can hit their Shuri, that is beautiful. I still don't know how these became 4 power, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Peace Tinker. The first location is Wakanda Embassy, so that buffs up our Sunspot, 0, and Infinaut, which they're not running a Thanos list, so we're probably not going to get that for free, but a lot of times we can get our hand small enough that our Dracula can almost guarantee pull into that big card. So the Korg comes down, it will shuffle. It will shuffle a rock into our deck. We now have the Red Skull as well. So we could always do Dracula on 4, on 5 we can do a mixture of whatever, on 6 we can do 0 and Red Skull. Sounds like a plan. With the Korg, this is probably a very heavy control deck, so like a Sarah control or like the Devil Dino interrupt style deck that runs Zabu, it runs Agent Coulson, is what I would imagine. Cloning Vats also comes down. If we still had our Sunspot, that'd be beautiful. We do draw back into the rock, unfortunately. Do we ever... I mean, we could... Ooh, I like this. We could Dracula on 4. We could Dracula on 5 plus the 0 so that we can Red Skull on 6, maybe. Kind of like that playline. And we're just going to soak. We're going to play our rock. Ooh, it is the Agent Coulson playline. It's so strange that you can identify a deck from one card that they play. So super strange. We're gonna do the Dracula, and then let's go from there. I think we do duplicate our Dracula. It's just so strong. They do have if they have Hawk in their hand, it's massive. We immediately get one of the other rocks. It always feels bad if you draw into the rock like right away, but that's all right. We're gonna play our. Maybe we don't even play Red Skull. Maybe we play our Dracula one more time. We play 0, we copy it, because that's a 5 power 1 cost, which is a Titania that just doesn't bounce to their side of the board. We copy the 0, next turn we do something like 0, Squirrel Girl, Rock, or whatever else we draw into, to be able to flood the board and guarantee a 15 and 22 power that comes down as well. I like that. If they have a Hawk here, ooh, no, the Devil Dino is pretty big too. We could probably beat it. We have the second Dracula, which is big. We have the Zero that's going to copy. They can maneuver their cards. We can maneuver our cards, but I don't know that we're going to. We want to zero out the rock. We can Squirrel Girl, which is going to push here and here. We're going to push a little bit more power to the right, and then we're going to play our last rock in this lane. We're going to give up New York, as you can tell. That's where our rock collection goes. The rest of the other lanes are the ones that we want to win in. We're going to soak 2 more with Sunspot, so we hope that Infinaut gets pulled here. But we're going to have 2 great Dracula pulls, depending on where they play. The Mystique copies the Devil Dino, which is big, but I think we can probably beat that. They do just the Sentinel in mid, so their mid lane is actually, admittedly, not very big. It is bigger than our rocks. We're going to rock them, but not that well. Oof. So we are going to have to get really lucky in where Dracula pulls. Oh, I forgot that. Oh, no, the Zero. Oh, no. Did we choke? We didn't choke. Okay. That was almost really bad. We played Zero. Our mistake was that we played Zero and it was going to get copied in the right lane. Knowing that we needed our Dracula to pull into the 2 targets that they pulled into, luckily we got the really lucky RNG flip from that. But that could have been very, very bad. But it wasn't, so we're going to take our 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. This deck is wild, guys. Alright, next up we have Joe is Cool. And since we had our name change from our Twitch Channel Point Redemption, it is now Dad is Cool versus Joe is Cool. And so we'll see who the true coolest of them all is going to be. They're not running Thanos, so that's a plus. We're going to play a few of our cards into Shuri's Lab early, just to kind of push for a little bit more early initiative. We have our Zero that's going to be good there. If we end up playing Zero and Red Skull, phenomenal. Phenomenal value. We have the Khazar for our 1-cost cards. I don't typically like to play Squirrel Girl, but I do want to kind of get it out of our hand. Usually that's like a last turn flood drop. But in this scenario, we're actually going to play it early. We're going to flood the board. We have Khazar that will buff up all of the 1-cost cards, so it won't be as iffy. So they do Zero on turn 2, so we can expect a Titania. We can expect a Titania, a Lizard, something very similar here, I imagine. Let's play our Ant-Man into mid. That's gonna be great for us. We're not going to play Zero just yet. I want to hold it because I want to play Khazar and have his ability trigger on this next turn. They do play the Titania. The Zeroed out Titania becomes 10 power, which is a beautiful 1-cost card. We get the Maximus, which is good with our Zero. Actually, great with our Zero. So let's play the Khazar. Let's let them know that we have the Khazar buff in Onslaught Citadel. From there, next turn, maybe we do the Zero and Maximus. Maybe we do something a little bit different. They do have Shuri in hand. I can sense it. I can feel it. Shuri in hand, snapping into turn 4 just to me yells, I have Shuri. They don't. They have Lizard instead. Okay, so they're going to soak more with Sunspot. That's perfectly fine. They have this really big lane. Ooh, and then we get Dracula, which is another great follow-up. So depending on what we draw into on our last turn, might determine where we play our cards. I think we're going to Zero to the right, Maximus to the left. Actually, let's Dracula to the right because he'll get negatively impacted. That's fine. We're going to Zero this turn. That way we use all of our energy. Next turn, depending on what we draw into, we have the Zero, so we could play Red Skull. We could play Maximus and Sunspot. We could play Maximus and Cosmo. We're going to have a really good curve into that last turn, and we need a big power play in the Shuri's Lab. So Dracula should single-handedly help us win the right lane. We have a decent push with our Khazar and Ant-Man in mid, if that's where we invest. Ooh, they arrow. Okay, it could be worse. It could be better, but it could be worse. The Dracula's fine there. We now have the zeroed out card for our next card. We are hoping for maybe Red Skull. Okay, Sunspot's fine. Let's zero out the left lane Maximus. We're going to Sunspot in mid because we're going to get 6 power from Ant-Man in that lane. We also know that they can't arrow again. So we get some decent value there. We're going to Sunspot mid. This, if they don't invest here, helps us win this lane. If they don't invest here, we win this lane, and then we have the 20 power coming in the right lane, which is phenomenal. So they play to the left, they play Captain Marvel, which is going to be the 12 power roving unit. But since we have a good push in all 3 lanes, Captain Marvel can't leave the left lane without giving up that win in that lane. And so we win the middle, we win the right. If she moves, we win the left. And so even though Captain Marvel can be that flexible piece, a lot of times she can't quite do what she needs to do if you're pushing power and you're pushing it wide. And so we will take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, we have good old MODOK with the name just making it worse, running Thanos. So we have a way to play into Death's Domain. We can play in Death's Domain with a Squirrel Girl. That's how we're going to compete for that location, either that or armor. But up until that point, actually, maybe we do that this turn, or I guess we drew into our armor. So we could play our armor there. With it being a Thanos, we want to compete for initiative on turns 3 or 4 so that we can try to stop their big lockjaw rotation. We can try to stop Leech from coming down. And even if Leech comes down, it's not necessarily the end of the world. We're going to play armor into the left lane. And then next turn, ooh, they play Mind Stone. They let it get destroyed. Interesting. It is a free cost card, so... Or it's a free card. I don't know if free cost card is actually correct. We're going to do armor into the left lane. We grab initiative now. So if we think that they're going to try to lockjaw rotate, where do they do it? The Elysium lane seems about as good as any, right? We're going to play all of our cards onto the board. We're just going to vomit it out onto the board. Sunspot will be able to soak from now on. We can always back up the right lane with our Cosmo. Let's see. We're gambling on the right. Do we get a retreat? That for me, that would be a hasty retreat. That's a lockjaw and 3 stones. Get out of here, Thanos. We get the good call of where the lockjaw is going to come in. We get the 1 cube out of it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have GRT. The first location is Baxter Building. So we're going to be pushing for that. And I've said it a couple of times this video. I'm sure that it's sunk in by now, but if we can grab initiative, we can try to restrict the Thanos opponent from doing what they want to do so very well. And that is rotate and flood their junk onto the board. We do get Cosmo for a turn 3, maybe Cosmo drop, or we hold it depending on what they play. So if this is Quinjet, then I think we drop our Cosmo. If not, then maybe we hold it and go from there. Ooh, the Nexus is interesting. Actually, can we just beat them in the Nexus? If we do well, they have some big cards, right? They have Thanos, they have Devil Dino, they have a couple of those really big resources. We do have our Dracula. We have potentially a Red Skull and Infinaut. If they leech us, that's unfortunate for them. I kind of want to compete for the Nexus here. But similar to a Patriot, since Thanos can go so wide so well, it's not usually advantageous to really go there. Now, if they're going to lockjaw rotate and they want to change this with Reality Stone, they play over here. I don't know. We're gonna send it. They play the Mind Stone into Baxter Building. They have additional stones now. Oh wow, what are the chances? Let's just go ahead and snap into it. We have a good lead in. We have the Cosmo. We have our good resources to be able to play into the Nexus, and now their stones are gone. Their big rotation tools are gone. We do get the cheeky one. It's not the full game. A lot of these Thanos games are ending early just because of putting them in a tough spot. Let's go ahead and take the 1 cube again. We're going to jump over into one more. All right, next up we have Dandelion supporting a brand new avatar. They are running the Thanos list. We don't have a good early game, so we want to grab initiative. I know I've said it a couple of times. We want to grab early initiative. Ooh, read all about it with the Kang. We know the Kang can come down now. We're going to play Ant-Man into mid. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to grab the lead over them, so we're going to have to rely on a really lucky Cosmo drop. The Nexus is, again, the Nexus is really interesting here. Where do they play and rotate their cards? So, with the Nexus being on the board, they either drop their massive cards there, potentially, We could always try to block their Kang. That would be amazing. But I think it's more beneficial because we could get leeched. We could get a big number of things. Oh, they do play into mid. Ooh, so with the Mind Stone and the Time Stone. So if they just drop the Leech, they have to drop it here or here. We get a second card from... Holy moly, we're sending them all kinds of... Or we're getting all kinds of stuff from them. Let's play the Maximus to the left. We can do Sunspot. Next turn, we'll maybe do our Kang. I don't know. We expect a turn 5 or turn 6 snap. If we see that come down, we're gonna... I mean, but they could have gotten the Kang that we got from the first time from the Daily Bugle. And so then they know that we know that they have Kang. All kinds of mind games that Kang creates that I just don't enjoy. So they play their Soul Stone into the right lane after having the Time Stone come down. So they're floating 4 energy there. They could pretty easily drop a She-Hulk now. I think we're going to play our Dracula, our Squirrel Girl. We're going to be pushing to spread power all across the board. They snap here. With the snap, do we think they're playing Kang this turn? I don't know. We don't know for sure. I don't know. We're gonna play it out. Ooh, the Spider-Man lock is scary, interesting, explosive, a big number of things. So we can still win that lane, but it just becomes much more difficult. We have to get rid of Kang. That's just a dead draw from our Dracula. And so then after that, we can play our Khazar and our armor. That will give us the best opportunity to pull into a big resource in this lane. But first off, let's go ahead and return a fire with the snap. Maybe they don't know we have Kang. I don't know. They're probably going to play Kang themselves, I imagine. If you have it in hand, there's no harm in playing it onto the board. So maybe we should have waited for their Kang before we played our Kang. I don't know. We could have played some mind games with them knowing that they had Kang and we had Kang. Okay, so they move their Time Stone. The middle location they change with Reality Stone. It changes it into the hub. Not fantastic. It gives us Heimdall. So if we're relying on a good Dracula pool, could be better, could be worse. But the Time Stone goes to the left. We're okay with that. So let's rewind. Let's play it one more time. Let's do the Khazar, the armor. And then we're going to hope. We got to hope. We have a dream that we can beat the Thanos. I mean, they're running a spicy Spider-Man in it. So who knows? If they have they could have a second Kang here, which would be funny if they pulled it from the one that we pulled from the first Daily Bugle. Let's see what they play. The Thanos comes down in the right lane. That gives them a pretty big lead over there. We were hoping for the Infinaut pull in the right. Can we get the Infinaut? We get the Thanos, which does bring the gap a little bit closer. We win the left lane because they didn't play there at all. We have a big enough power mid that even though they won the right lane by 6, we win the game. It is always satisfying to be able to win a Nexus game after losing the Nexus. So that gives us 4 cubes. I know it looks funny, but that gives us 4 cubes here. Let's go ahead and take it. That is where we're going to end the video. So far, this deck has performed surprisingly well against Thanos. I've been climbing relatively easily through a couple of different ways that you can counter, and if you get leeched, we didn't get leeched in these sets of games, but if you get leeched, you have your Red Skull, your Infinaut, that just become good value at that point. So we will go ahead and take this. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below, and as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.